Good afternoon and welcome to this Facebook Live edition of Let's Talk Access. Let's Talk Access is a social media program produced and presented by the UWI Open Campus. I am your host for today, Cleveland Sam. Thank you for joining us from wherever in the Caribbean or in the world you are this afternoon. Today, we talk about the Teaching and Learning with Emerging Technologies, or Tillett, programs that the UWI Open Campus offers. I have four very special guests today. Two of them have been here before, and two are making their debut on Let's Talk Access. Please help me in welcoming them. First, Dr. Kishona Salmon-Ferguson, and she is a program manager in the Academic Programming and Delivery Division at the Open Campus. Welcome, Dr. Salmon-Ferguson.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Right, Dr. Salmon-Ferguson, what do you do at the Open Campus as a program manager? Briefly.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Sam. Well, as a program manager, I am responsible for the teaching and learning aspects of the program, working with students and facilitators to ensure that the curriculum is delivered, the support that students need to get done their program is given in various ways by various teams of persons liaising with teams that work together to support our students to get their program completed. So that's essentially what we do in managing the programs.
All right, and Mrs. Nicole Romany, you're also a program manager. And what is your role as it relates to Tillett? You're muted, Nicole. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Good afternoon, Dr. Sam, viewers. My role as a program manager as it relates to Tillett is to help with program advising for the students, to ensure that they are aware of how they're going to progress through the program. Along with Dr. Salmon-Ferguson, I also give that support that students would need to help them to successfully navigate through the program.
All right, so really happy to have you and Dr. Salmon-Ferguson, because you're critical to the program. Mr. Michael Lewis, you're a recent Tillett graduate and currently an EdD student at the Open Campus. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Sam. Thank you for having me. I would describe myself as a passionate educator. I am a Barbadian, but I'm originally from St. Vincent. I have taught both science and mathematics at secondary level for 9 years. I have experience teaching in face-to-face learning environment as well as a blended learning environment. I have worked with teachers from not just Barbados, but from across the Caribbean, as well as in the United States and Canada. Yeah.
All right, great. And finally, Mr. Carrie Miller, he's a secondary school teacher in Barbados as well. Who is Carrie Miller?
Hi, yes, I am a secondary school teacher. I'm teaching for the last 10 years, I believe. Right now I teach IT and accounts, but I've taught from science to mathematics. And yeah, I'm pretty much into technology and teaching. I love the online environment for teaching.
Great. So, Carrie, you're an ideal person for us today to talk about teaching and learning with emerging technology as someone who teaches IT. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this program, and thank you so much for agreeing to grace us with your presence today. Teaching and learning with emerging technologies, or Tillett. This seems like an ideal program that is made for the current COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Salmon-Ferguson, what do you say?
Oh, definitely so, Dr. Sam. Definitely so. As I was looking at the program, I wondered what was it that sparked all of this. I mean, apparently our founders, or should I say initiators of this program, were visionaries, because who would have thought that we would have had what we now have as it relates to the COVID pandemic. And we're seeing where it's very, very relevant, where persons now have to go online, and having the knowledge of the various technologies that will facilitate blended learning is critical in this time. And UWI foresaw that. And of course, being the university that we are, wanting to be agile, preparing ourselves to meet, the needs there, we, looked and recognized. And guess what? UWI Open Campus, we are online. That's what we do. So it is our area of expertise. And so we would now be able to guide others in this way. So definitely Tillett is a very, very, very important program.
Made for the pandemic.
Yes, made for the pandemic.
All right. All right.
Yes.
So Tillett, take us through the different qualifications, Nicole Romney, because Tillett is what we call a laddering program. Can you explain that to us and how it works, Nicole?
Yes, the Tillett program is indeed one of the unique offerings at the Open Campus, in that it offers the applicant the opportunity to move from the certificates to diploma, master's, straight up to a doctoral level of studies. And the interesting thing about it, Dr. Sam, is that the period of time that we are in now, I'm sure that we have a lot of persons who are just looking at their current qualifications and saying that I really don't have what it takes to be working competently online. And they may just be, they may be very competent in their field of education or work or technology, whichever area they work in now. And they may just need to have that jump start in terms of having the competency to work in a blended environment. And the certificate level will offer such a person that opportunity to get certified and gain the necessary skills with teaching and learning with emerging technologies. So that the certificate program in itself offers persons who are already qualified and don't really see themselves as being competent enough in the field to work. This person can enroll in the program, can access application for the program if they have an undergraduate degree, at least a lower level second class or its equivalent from an approved university. And they just having the opportunity to work online for the past 2 years, I'm sure that persons will have the necessary foundation skills to enter the certificate program. As they finish that program and they have an appetite for continuing, they can move on to the diploma program, and they would have had their certificate qualifications now, but the qualifications to enter the diploma program is similar to that of entering the certificate program. So having the lower second class pass or an equivalent from an approved university can also work for somebody who is interested in doing the diploma. And as I said, the persons who are going to continue to get themselves qualified in the field, they can move from certificate, diploma, and then once they have gotten that love for the learning in the Tillett program, they can move into the master's program. And this is where they'll develop those expertise, specialized skills, and they're going to have that more ideas as to how they can grow in the field of emerging technology. And that person will have to have an undergraduate degree, lower second class pass, it's equivalent from an approved university, and a following discipline in either teaching and learning or curriculum quality, because they're going into specialization now. And I'm going to hand over to Dr. Salmon Ferguson, who is going to give us a little more in terms of the doctoral program.
All right.
Yes, thank you so much, Mrs. Romney. Yes, building on what Mrs. Romney has already said, we do have 2 concentrations in the master's, as she has indicated, the curriculum quality and the teaching and learning. And just to note, the curriculum quality is for persons who would be more interested in how to include, for example, technologies in teaching and learning, how to structure the curriculum to take into consideration all of the things that must be noted as one works with the curriculum. So persons who are more interested in that aspect, but persons who want hands-on actual teaching, actually using the technology themselves as they interact with learners, then teaching and learning might be that option that you would prefer. Now, these concentrations also obtain in the doctoral program. And in order to qualify for these, you need, yes, as Mrs. Romani has indicated, your bachelor's degree at an approved university, and you should get this with some honors, at least lower second class honors or B+. Well, yes, B+ usually, no, to get into the doctoral program, B+ at the master's level. For the master's, you need at least a lower second class to get into the master's. Now, in order to get into curriculum quality, it's going to be very important that you have some background in curriculum or education, because as you would imagine, it's a specialization, and now you need the foundation to do that. For the background, for the master's in teaching and learning, you can have any qualification in any area, because it is assumed that you are going to be teaching in that area in which you already have your specialization. But to get into the doctoral program, you do need to have some background in education, because guess what? At the doctoral program, we are now moving you from just specialization to becoming leaders in the area. And therefore, we ask that you have those additional education skills in terms of background. Over to you,
right.
Dr. Sam.
Great. We're going to come back later in the program to some of the information you shared, specifically about the entry requirements. But I want to bring Michael at this point, because Michael recently graduated from this program. Michael, what attracted you to the Tillett program? And tell us which of the programs you did.
Okay, I specialize in the teaching and learning. And so what I must say, before the COVID-19 pandemic, the school that I taught at made a transition from face-to-face to blended teaching. This transition was met with several challenges. Particularly, there was like a tug of war between two different teaching paradigms. So we have trained teachers and graduate teachers. They were all unprepared for the shift. And the main reason for this was because there was a requirement, there was a required systematic change in the way things were previously done, right? And this was a point at which I realized that there was a gap in knowledge of what it truly means to teach in an online learning environment. So I thought to myself, I would like to do something to help in the process of future transitions to blended teaching. So I started looking around and I came across the Tillett MED program. This program fit exactly with what I was hoping to accomplish. It had a focus on using technology within a Caribbean context, which I thought was important. So that was my reason for choosing it.
Great. And which of the programs you actually did? Was it the master's, diploma?
I did the master's.
Okay, so congratulations. I think you're in the first cohort of this program, if my information is correct, Michael.
Yes, that is correct.
I think with this, Michael deserves
Can I add, he's actually,
give Michael a round of applause. Because
yeah, may I add there, Dr. Sam, he's actually the first graduate from the master's in teaching and learning with emerging technologies, the teaching and learning option, yes, our first graduate.
All right, so he deserves a round of applause.
Yes.
Great going, Michael. And you have moved on, I am told, now to the Doctor of Education.
Yes, that is correct. I have.
All right, so we're going to speak about that as we go on. Carrie Miller, you have, as you said, you are a secondary school teacher in Barbados, and you teach IT, but your school, like all of the other schools in Barbados, has transitioned to online teaching from last year early. How was that transition for you and your colleagues, Carrie?
Well, the transition was a little difficult for some who were not accustomed to the online teaching. It was also a learning experience for the students because we take it for granted that they're using the technology, but then it is how they use the technology. So when it comes to using things like sending emails and things that we take for granted because we do it in work every day, students don't use emails. They use other technologies like WhatsApp and maybe Snapchat and these sort of things. So it was a learning experience for everyone. And then teachers also had a problem where they were accustomed to talking chalk and textbooks. But then they had to get now to understand how to use the technology, rely more on videos and try to find software where they can actually bring stuff over to the kids and applications to the kids. So it was a learning process for everyone. I thoroughly enjoyed the online experience. I find that it's really easy to find if you're explaining something to a child, you're teaching a lesson and they don't understand, you can quickly pop into YouTube and bring a video in, or if you're looking for something to talk, if you're talking about something, especially in IT, especially when we're talking about old technology that they would never have seen, you can just pull up Google and quickly bring a picture in and let them see what it looks like, right? So I find it rather useful, but and I think it's overdue here in the Caribbean. Even when I was at UE all the way back, the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when I first got introduced to online learning. I was doing a course at university and I really wasn't understanding what was going on. And it was the night before the exam. And I remember I went on Netscape or Alta Vista, one of those. I mean, I was really dating, right?
You're dating yourself, Carrie.
Yeah, but I went on there and I was looking and I came across this a site. It was a university and they had some courses on there. And thankfully, they had a course similar to what I was doing at university. And it was, I think it was an hour long or hour and a half long lecture. And I sat on and I watched that lecture over and over that night. And that was my saving grace for that exam. I went there and I think I got a B minus or something like that. So I was really happy. And from then on, I thought, online is great for learning. And I've been, online trying to learn from them.
Right. So we are about 18 months on from last year when we were basically forced. Well, the rest of the world, the open campus was always there, right, Nicola and Kishona? But the rest of the world was forced to use online technology. How would you say teachers and others, the students, how would you say they have moved on now and adapted and so on?
Well, it's like anything else, they're the early adopters, and then others are now streaming in. But I find that teachers will be making an effort, but then you have some kids that really embrace it, but others are telling you, well, they don't like this environment. They need face-to-face, and it's challenging for them. But I can tell you that the majority of them now can send emails. If you give an assignment, they can email it to you, so I can see the progress, right, in that learning curve for the technology, right? So some of them have embraced it, and it is a challenging, but you can see they're learning, and they're starting to embrace it.
All right, Michael Lewis, you have gone through the master's program. Why should a teacher pursue this Tillett program in your view? Michael?
Yes, okay. So first I would say that the Tillett program is a very well-structured program. It's progressive and it's also dynamic, right? The layout of the course make it really easy to navigate the course content. But why should teachers really do it? Because it provides a theoretical basis for what teaching should be like. right? And what I've found is even in my own personal teaching experience, a lot of teachers or a lot of persons think that teaching online is just about, you going in front of a class and saying something to them, saying something to students, or what I find is that teachers tend to do is they tend to transfer what the face-to-face teaching style to the online teaching, and they assume that the students are following or the students are understanding, right? So, however, with online teaching, it's a totally different ballgame. It requires, like I said, a paradigm shift, and I think the program itself is designed to facilitate that paradigm shift.
Okay, great.
Dr. Sam,
go ahead.
may I add something as I listen
Sure.
to Michael? I also would say one of the features of the program that I think is also something that persons should look at. We offer not just, Michael mentioned the theoretical aspects, but our program also, in addition to the theory, we do practical. So every theory course has a laboratory component associated with it, in which students will do projects. They actually get to use the technologies that they are learning about to develop things, to do various things. And Michael can give some more detail on that. But I think that is also something very useful, not just the theory, but knowing how to once you would have left. So developing the actual competencies in these areas.
That is so true, Kashana. And when I say that the program is dynamic, and I remember when I was doing it, and this program, it allows for a level of self-directed learning that was more than just having flexibility with assignment submissions. They give you the opportunity to thoroughly define and develop the path that you want to take. And as Kashana was saying, the practical component, each course has a practical component attached to it. But what I really found to be really the best part for me was the internship experience. So that's where you get to choose an institution that you want to work with, and you get to actually practice what you've learned, and then use those skills to really apply it in any context that you want to.
Awesome stuff, Michael. Thank you so much. And Carrie, you said that you found that some of the teachers and some of the students, they were leaning towards particular technology. Are there specific technologies that your students would say, oh, I rather this one, sir, or not this one? I mean, tell us about some of the technologies that you're using and some of them that the students like or prefer to use.
Okay, so well, the kids like more interactive applications. So things like Nearpod, quizzes, and these sort of things where they can interact with the material and each other. I find that they enjoy that more. In the face-to-face, I would use PowerPoint to do little game shows where they have something like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of thing, and they're able to interact with each other and have teams and play. When we came into the online environment, the Quest had a search for software that can do that. And I think administrative education here in Barbados, they provided Nearpod. And I think they've given subscriptions so that all teachers in Barbados have access to it. And all the components of it. So that's something that we use. I've seen the teachers using it for science as well, and in different ways. And I think the children respond to it. I think a lot of times the junior school likes it a lot more. Senior boys sometimes don't want to play the games and stuff like that. But that's just a teenage thing. Other than that, I think the students like it. And then when I have to get to the more traditional things like I use Microsoft OneNote as well. When I'm explaining, like say if I'm teaching accounts and I want to go through a question, I would use that and use the graphics tablet So I can go and I can highlight, I can write, I can explain as I'm explaining, I can write things and drop little notes on it. And, things like that we use. And they respond to it, right?
Great. So I mean, there are significant variation in the use of technology. How
Dr.
about
Sam,
go
I
ahead,
just wanted
Nicole.
to chime. Yes, I just wanted to add to that. In hearing was what's just shared there, that I'm hearing that we possibly will have a pool of people coming out of Tillett who will create opportunities for people to feel less stressed, less overwhelmed in searching for material in the long run to deal with our students, because as Dr. Sam Ferguson would have mentioned, they are getting the opportunity to practice the use of the tools and the technology as they go through the different levels of the program. So I can see the cohorts forming themselves into a well qualified group of experts who will eventually create technology that will suit the purpose for the Caribbean. So as we go through this talk today, and people find their interest, they are going to see how they can fit themselves into the whole paradigm of creating technology for the region.
Wow, I think you are going right into Carrie Miller's space, because Carrie, I know from another conversation that you're working with another regional agency to do just that, to create electronic resources for secondary school students, yes?
Yes, I do create content for secondary school students. And I think as I use my students, I test some of the stuff with my students, I'm finding, ways to tweak it so they respond better, so that when you create that content out there, you get that reaction from the kids that you want, right? And I do a lot more video content
Right.
than others. So forth. I do some animation as well with the Powtoons and those sort of software, but I blend the two together, and I find the response is reasonably good for the kids, right? But what I would really like to be able to do is write my own software where I can actually do some apps where you can push towards education. I think kids more into the apps and using the cell phone that way, and that's something that I'm becoming more interested in. So I hope UE in the course has something like that to offer to me, so I can become a graduate as well, just like Michael.
There you go. Our applications for September would be open very soon, Carrie. I wanted to ask both you and Michael, because I know Michael he said he has some experience teaching and is going to be teaching again at the post-secondary level pretty soon. What about the everyday technologies that we use, like Skype and WhatsApp and so on? Have you been able to incorporate those in your teaching and learning with your students, or have you seen other teaching colleagues using these?
Well, for me, we use Google Classroom and Google Meet.
Right.
So we have no choice but to incorporate it, because that's the platform that we use to teach.
Right.
Right. And I think that for the Google Meets, to some extent, it has its flaws, it has its limitations, but it's working. I would like to see something that's a little bit more advanced, where we can do a lot more than what we're currently doing. But we do use the Google Forms to give the quizzes and so forth. And I find with the Google Forms, using those Google Forms, the student gets an instantaneous response to when they answer questions. So when you set up the forms, the quizzes, you can set the answers and the feedback. So, and as soon as they're finished submitting the quiz, they get the response, they get their mark, and they see what the answer should have been. So I find that they like that a lot, because as we were when we were students, we like to know we got our marks and we like to know our marks. So instead of having to wait before, like, we had the teacher get around to correcting those books and so forth, you get instantaneous feedback on your efforts, right? So I think that's one of the ways. And for the WhatsApp, I've created WhatsApp groups for the kids. So for accounts, different accounts classes will have their WhatsApp groups. But of course, the teenagers, so it comes with its challenges as well, because they don't only want to talk about accounts in there, they want to have a chat with the kids. So you have to be very careful with them and make sure that it stays on your accounts. But we try to embrace the technology.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael, what has been your experience with using the common communication and social media apps?
Right. Okay. So like I said, I've had experience teaching in blended environment, but I'm also a parent. So I have a 6-year-old son who is in primary. So I'm going to talk about that as well. But I have used Zoom and Canvas for engaging my students. But I'm also proficient in using Moodle learning management system. In fact, that is something that I'm really keen in developing, and I think it would be useful for the region as it relates to technology that can be used for engaging students and parents at the primary level. I find WhatsApp, as Carrie mentioned earlier, is a really useful feature, and it's useful because parents at the primary level, we have, if we are honest with ourselves, the parents are doing most of the work, right? And really the WhatsApp provide a platform where the parents can really engage one another and find out what really is going on so that it can better help students, right? And as it relates to the actual technology that really will work or that have worked best, it's really about having the resources available for students, because there are times, like I said before, the students are not always going to follow when you say something synchronously, right? When it delivers something directly. But if you have the resources available to them in a synchronous setting, then they're going to be able to access that. So the use of a Moodle platform will facilitate that really effectively. And then of course you can blend that with other different engaging technologies.
Great stuff, great stuff. All right, I want to bring back in my program managers from the Open Campus to speak specifically about our Tillett programs once more. And we're going to go through them one by one. We're going to start with the certificate program, Nicole, and tell us what are the entry requirements for that program and what is the structure of the program as it currently stands.
Right. Yes, I would have mentioned the entry requirement earlier, as the requirement is at least a lower second class or equivalent from an approved institution, and of course any online experience. But we all know we have that. Most of our Caribbean persons around and even around the world, they are using the technology now, so they're quite apt in terms of being qualified for application for the certificate program. The certificate program is a 12-credit program, and it's structured in such a way that it's just 3 theory courses associated with 3 labs. That would have been mentioned before by Dr. Simon Ferguson in terms of the application part of the program, where students are getting an opportunity to apply what they are learning. And the laboratories are there to give that support for the students to practice what you're learning. And it also creates avenues for a bit of innovation as well, because students are going to come with their lived experiences and their passions for certain aspects of the technology, and therefore the labs will give them those opportunities to show what they can do and to pursue their passion and interest, right? Likewise, for the diploma program, your entry requirement will be an undergraduate degree, at least lower second class or equivalent from an approved university. And this program is structured with 20 credits. That will be 5 theory courses and 5 laboratories. And you're wondering how we're getting the credits. And it's for the certificate program, there'll be 3 credit courses, so that'll be 9. And then you'll have your labs that are just 1 credit each. So each one of the courses will have the associated labs. So you will just count it that way. So 3 credits by 1 credit. And that's how you're going to get your total credits for the certificate, 12 credits, and the diploma, 20 credits.
Right. And ideally, what is the duration of the certificate and the diploma program?
Well, that's one of the interesting things about the certificate program. It's can be completed in 2 teaching periods, or if, as we know, people experience life and things can happen, you have a maximum of 2 years to complete. But
Okay.
2 teaching periods means that you can start in January, and by the end of the academic year, you are certified, you have your certification, right? With the diploma, you can complete in 12 months, 1 year, and that's basically the structure of the program.
Right. Before I go to Kishana, I want to ask, because I listened to Carrie and I listened to Michael, and I don't know if we want to ensure that persons who are following us get the right impression. Does a prospective student need to be IT savvy to do Tillett? I mean, any of you guys can answer.
Well, I would say they need to have some level of technology skill. In
Literacy.
Yeah, they need to have some level of being able to, because most of it is really how do you apply the technology in a classroom context. It's not just about using a PowerPoint or using, you know, Zoom or whatever it is, but it's really the focus is on how do you engage the students. So you need to have a basic understanding of the technology to be able to master that, to be able to apply it.
To add to that, Dr. Sam, thank you so much, Michael, for giving that information. Just to add to what he has said, yes, persons would need to have some background in technology, but just to note, the basic use of the technology will be sufficient for persons coming in, because so far we know that persons have had to do quite a bit online, and so they would have enough to begin. So they don't have to worry about, oh, I am not, you know, this big IT person. No, we recognize you are coming into the program to learn. So we are gonna be building on what you have. And just to say, when persons come, we have an introductory online course, OOL course, that all applicants would be required to do. And in that course, we give the foundation some additional information, additional competency skills that persons will need so that they could effectively go through the program. So persons don't have to worry that I don't know, I don't have it all. Come with what you have. We will build on that and take you through.
All right, great. So I was going to introduce you to speak about the structure of the master's and doctoral Tillett program. So you can go right ahead.
Thanks so much. Yes, so to build on what my colleague, Mrs. Romani, has already said, the master's is now 42 credits, right? As she indicated, the diploma would have been 20, the master's 42 credits. Now, these 42 credits include some core courses, that's about 6 core courses. It will also include specialization courses, noting that we have 2 concentrations that are active now, as I had indicated before, curriculum quality and teaching and learning. So for each of those areas, you would take 3 specialist courses. The master's also includes an internship, as Michael would have referenced, where you go out and you get practical experience in an institution. So all of those together would give you 42 credits. Also, building on what Mrs. Romani has said, each course would include both a 3-credit theory and a 1-credit laboratory. All right. This program can be completed in a minimum of 28 months. All right, just a little bit over 2 years. And of course, if persons have a challenge, you have up to 4 or 5 years within which to complete. All right, so that's it for the master's. Now, building on the master's, we also have the doctoral program. That program now is a 72 credit program. Like the master's, It also includes concentrations, curriculum quality, and also teaching and learning concentration. Now, in this program, you will do core courses, taught courses. Also, you will do courses related to your specialization or concentration. But in addition, at the doctoral level, you will have to do research. So that we look at. Now, research, you will be taken through research course rooms. So you are not just left on your own to do research, but you are guided through research course rooms from as early as the second year, second going into third year. You start doing some courses there related to research, and you are guided. You'll be given a supervisor who will work with you. You conduct your study and you write up your report. So very important at the doctoral level is doing research. Now, these 72 credits can be completed in just about 52 months or so because of the research aspect, and you'll have to do presentation and so on of the research, and that takes a little while. So we bear that in mind in this 52 months or so, but of course you have a 7-year limit within which to complete if you are not able to get through in the minimum time. So that's it for now, Dr. Sam, regarding those programs.
Great. So that's good information on the structure, duration of the program and the content and so on. In terms of the application periods, what are we looking at for when can people apply?
All right. For the certificate and the diploma, those we are accepting applicants to begin in January 2022. And so persons can still communicate with us if they desire to apply for those programs. The master's would not be available, however, until the new academic year. And then the doctoral program would be available the following academic year, because we do intake into that program on a biennial basis, so every other year, right? We took in some applicants for this academic year, therefore we won't be taking in any persons into the doctoral program until 2023, is that?
Yes, 2023.
Right.
But master's, diploma and certificate, you're open.
Yes, for the new academic year, but the diploma and certificates are also open for January. So if there's anybody interested right now in getting, those basic skills to, boost whatever you're doing and help you be prepared for January, yes, for the certificate and the diploma.
Great stuff, great stuff. All right, so let me ask this question, because I had an off-camera conversation with Michael and we spoke. So I want to ask, who is the Tillett program for? Who is it targeting? Is it only teachers? Is it for people who study in IT and want to teach? Who is this program targeted for?
I would say it's a combination. I would say that there's a need in the Caribbean for instructional designers, in the sense that teachers are often burdened with just preparing the content, right, of their courses. And what I've found is that it can become very draining to teachers to try to prepare content at the same time focus on developing a course content online. And this is like within the public school system, right? So I would say there is a need within the Caribbean for persons who can provide the much needed support that secondary or primary school teachers need, especially within the pandemic period. And I see going forward, I really think that going forward, we should really move towards a blended approach of teaching within the school systems. So I would say that yes, it is going to be good for teachers, but for secondary teachers and primary teachers to actually focus on developing content for teaching in an online environment, and at the same time focus on the technology aspect, it takes away from their effectiveness to deliver instruction. So I would say, so that's my take on that.
Excellent.
Yes,
agree.
Dr. Sam, just to add to what Michael is saying, yes, definitely for teachers, and not just for teachers, as he's saying, because the whole process of facilitating education includes other persons beside teachers. Sometimes we often don't look at the other persons. He spoke to secondary education, primary, but also even at the higher education level. The persons behind ensuring, for example, that the curriculum is appropriately designed to include elements. We need persons who are going to be instructional design specialists. We need persons who are going to be training persons how to use the technology. So we need quite a number. We need the actual persons, the IT persons who will be behind the scenes, creating the network and ensuring that
coding and all of that,
and we have the software. So all of these persons together, we need leaders now who can take the idea of using technology to another level. So not just in the classroom, but how we expand it, how we work with it in other areas outside of the traditional classroom. So a number of persons can get involved in technology as a discipline, the use of technology as a discipline, not just for teachers, but all of these other support persons in the process, the education process.
Yes, and Dr. Sam, Carrie and Michael, they would have spoken about, yes, the teacher component and all of that. But you also have to remember that you have adults who are coming in to learn about how to use the technology, and ensuring that the curriculum, the content is appropriate. Yes. Is also required, and you need to have people who are skilled in that area, knowing how to deliver to adults in the online environment. So it's not only, yes, we want to ensure that our children are well catered for, but remember, we have adults who are continuing their education, and we have to ensure that the applications, the platforms are quite suited for ensuring that those types of learners are also catered for.
Excellent point. Carrie, from where you stand or sit as a teacher in the online environment for the last 18 months, what benefits do you see your colleague teachers across the region obtaining from a program such as Tillett? I mean, you have heard Michael and my colleagues spoke about the content and so on. What benefits do you see them obtaining from a program like this one?
Well, the online environment is totally different than face-to-face. And, you need to understand now how to actually design a lesson or a curriculum for that environment. And you can't just move from face-to-face into that, because it doesn't really gel well with the students. I mean, if you have a face-to-face and, students are distracted easily in the classroom, imagine when they're home and no one supervises them. I mean, they just take their phone, they just zone out when, you're for lack of a better word, your lesson is boring, right?
Right.
Understand? There's so many more distractions. Yes. So I think if teachers are able now to see how to create content, and not just content, but using technology in a way that is designed the curriculum for these children, so it's more interactive and, to the audience that they're actually teaching, not just children, but to adults as well, right? I think that this is a good course to do that. It will give you the tools that you need and the understanding you need of the technology to implement it in a way in which will be more beneficial to the actual end user.
Right. Guys, could you believe it? We only have 10 minutes to go. Michael, you were going to say something? Sorry, I thought I heard someone.
No,
go ahead.
Now, on what Michael was saying, I think that it's not just institutions. I think that with a program like this, I can see it being used in business as well, where you have big organizations and you have to train persons in HR and so forth. I think that this is a good way in which you can, help develop that process, and especially in an online environment where you have companies that are, throughout the region. They're able to then design something where you can get people to come in, well, not come in, but stay at your home in your country for that organization, and HR and so forth can train them from right there.
Very good point. Very good point. Nicole and Kishonna, how is the Tillett programs assessed? Because that's a very important part of what we do, teaching, learning, and assessment. Tell us about the assessment for Tillett.
Yes, Dr. Sam. Oh, Kishonna.
Go ahead, Nicole. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's 100% continuous assessment in that there is no final examination for any of the courses, the programs. The students are assessed throughout their engagement using different modalities within the online environment. And it all adds up to 100% assessment. I wanted to just draw back to a bit of what we were talking about before in terms of the kind of engagement for online and how we need to be preparing our Caribbean people for that kind of engagement. We tend to feel that students just want to have that kind of a monologue kind of engagement. You go to a session and you sit and you listen and you hear and that's it. But remember, when your students come offline, they want to have those platforms that are interactive, that are colorful, that are interesting, that will draw them to be independent learners. So all of that is where you need your technology to expand and create a scope of learning for where your students and your adult learners will become interested in going on to those kinds of platforms and engaging in their own learning. Yes?
Great. And with respect, I want to go back to the assessment briefly. What's the nature of the assessment? So you said it's 100% continuous assessment. But what types of assessments are they actually doing, Kishonna?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Dr. Sam. Yes. The types of assessment includes things like individual work. Usually there's like an individual paper that persons have to do. There is also interactive work through like group discussions, reflections. Reflections is very, very big in Tillett because you need to look at what you're doing, look at what others are doing. As you network with others, you would do things in groups. So persons, for example, evaluate I spoke earlier about doing a project. Every course involves some kind of project where you actually use the skills that you are being taught to develop something, to work on something in your environment, in your school, whatever it is, and you will display that, you will put that in an e-portfolio. So you're working in an e-portfolio, again, compiling all your work. It will be reviewed by teammates and by your professors, and in doing so, it helps you to build. So those are some of the major components of the assessments. So practical, reflective, individual, group, yes, those kinds of things.
Case studies, I imagine.
As well.
Yes. All right, 5 minutes to go. Michael, tell us from your experience, what was the highlight of the Tillett Master's Program for you?
Okay, I would say that the highlight really, the highlight was my internship program.
Tell us about that.
So for my internship, I work with the Micro College in Jamaica. Micro University College in Jamaica, yes. So basically I work along with the online learning department where they would have been transitioned into online as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. So I basically was assigned to work along with some of the instructors to help them kind of like develop their online courses, right? So
nice.
So that was a big highlight for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you did this all online, obviously, virtually.
All online, yes, all online.
Wow. And how long was this?
Well, it was actually for about I would say over a month. right?
Right.
Close to about 2 months. Yeah.
Great. And what was the relationship like with you and your other colleagues in the program from across the region?
Right. I would say interestingly, being in an online environment, one would think that, not seeing persons face to face would make it difficult to develop relationships. But I found that, the collaboration that we had online, it was such that it kind of like drew us close together. We were able to set groups up and stay in touch with each other. But we were also able to critically critique each other's work. And to me, really, sometimes you might have an idea, but when someone else look at that idea and critique it, it really gives you, it improves you as a person. So I have really gained a lot from the engagement with my colleagues, also with the program, and I would say that I have seen my writing skills. I mean, this is a say, I've seen my writing skills improve, as well as my research skill, as well as my I've designed a couple projects and videos as well, put together as coming out of program and coming out of through collaborations also with others. So yeah, it has been a rich experience for me.
Great stuff. Unfortunately, we only have 3 minutes to go. So I'm going to ask Kishonna and Nicole to give me their final words, and then I'm going to come to Carrie.
Well,
Thank you, Dr. Sam.
Go ahead, Nicole.
How time flies when you're having fun, right?
Of course.
I just wanted to wrap up by encouraging persons who are interested in doing the Tillett program to don't let your fears or your anxieties about not being quite equipped with all the skills to work within the online environment deter you from applying. The certificate program, it's there to support you as you gain your understanding in the field of technology and emerging technology. So you can apply, and it's available to you from January. So I encourage everyone who would be interested in doing that particular program to please reach out to us. Our website is there. You can reach out to us and you can get all the information you need to support you with your entry into the program.
Great. Kishonna.
Thanks. And to add to what Nicole has said, just to let people know, the program we offer is very reasonable in terms of cost.
Price.
It is affordable. All right. For the diploma and the certificate and the master's at $220 per credit. Oh my.
A steal of a deal.
That's a steal. The doctoral program at $259 per credit, getting quality program from one of the top universities in the world. Dr. Sam, you can tell us.
Number one rated university in the English-speaking Caribbean.
In the speaking Caribbean. Oh my, it is a steal. So it is affordable, it is quality, it is right up there. So come on and let's prepare ourselves. We are preparing ourselves to help and build the Caribbean as we include and increase our skills and our capacity. So encouraging people, come on, we are waiting to have you.
Yeah, Carrie, that sales pitch was for you. Your final words, Carrie.
Yeah, I was saying she's taking your job away, man.
I'm saying, that's all right.
Yeah, I do see the benefits of this program, especially for teachers who are not tech savvy and are struggling with creating content. And not even those who are struggling, but it gives you another way to look at creating content. And I think it's a very important course as an educator to have under your belt. And just start at certificate level just to get a taste of it. And I think that would improve your lesson planning on the online environment by leaps and bounds just doing a certificate course.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Kishonna Salmon Ferguson, Mrs. Nicole Romney, Mr. Michael Lewis, and Mr. Carrie Miller. Thank you so much for being our panelists this afternoon. And thank you on the World Wide Web for joining us and making this program such a success. Special thanks to my technical team, Patrick Johnson, the digital marketer, Richard Bath, our web coordinator Louis Boxell, Cherise Glasgow-Marcia Reed for handling the questions and the queries, as well as for handling all things technical. Until next time, I'm your host, Cleveland Sam. Goodbye.